Welcome back to Between Two FARS. I'm Warnicki Miller here once again with two of the most outstanding procurement attorneys that NASA has to offer, Michael Mark and Robert Tepfer. And we've been talking about EAO things. Today we'd like to focus a little bit on brief writing and prepping your key witnesses and how those two things have to come together. Michael, tell us a little bit about your approach to brief writing.
Well, I like to make it as easy as possible on the GAO attorney. So when you write the brief, you want to it's the old tell them what you're going to say it, and tell them what you said. And the way you do that, the way I do that is I lay out the arguments. I'll have the arguments synopsized at the very front, argument A1, ABC, and 2 ABC. And then in the brief, I'm going to have those bold-faced and highlighted, and then the arguments beneath them. When you're citing to GAO decisions, they seem to like more recent cases than older cases, unless the older cases are the seminal case. So I like to try and find the most recent cases I can that are on point. If I've got to go back in time, obviously I will. And the other thing that you really want to be sure you do is cite to the record, and cite with great specificity, not just see tab 32. See tab 32, Bates number 2206, that kind of thing. Make it as easy as possible on the GAO attorney to find what it is you're talking about. But you also have to deal, obviously, with all of the arguments being made in the protest, and you need to deal with them in a serial fashion, in an orderly fashion. Sometimes I take them in a different order than they have presented them because I think it's more logical. And I keep citing back repeatedly to what's in that record and citing the cases, as many as I can, and dealing with any cases that they may have cited in their protest to show why either they're not applicable or they're why they are misapplying them to our situation. So those are important things. And if you make that easy on the GAO attorney, then it's easier for the GAO attorney to say, okay, the government, they've got a good case and I'm going to decide for them. If you don't, or if you think you've done and apparently you haven't, then you're going to go to a hearing. And the other thing is that the memo of law has to be coordinated with the CO statement of fact. They can't be talking past each other. They have to line up. So you need to stay in touch with your CO and trade your drafts with the CO's drafts of their statement and make sure that we're on the same sheet of music. If you do that, you should be able to prevail in your case. But if you don't, then you're going to be into the witness prep. And I think Bob has some real good pointers about what you need to be doing in that situation as well. And I can tell you, we've been in that situation ourselves.
Yeah. The biggest thing you have to worry about with regard to the witness prep in the context of the brief and the attorney's statements and the contracting officer's statement is the witness has to tell the same story. So you need to get them involved to make certain that they can effectively attest to those facts, and you have kind of a good story that all fits together and they're not surprised by anything or anybody took off, or they can correct you. That's one thing. The other thing is, particularly if you're dealing with a source selection authority, and quite often you are in the context of a hearing, because that's what the GAO attorney is very curious of. What were the thought processes? Why did you do this? Why did you find value here and overrule the board, or find a weakness that they didn't see, or a different, significant weakness? They want to ask questions. Obviously, you better have your contemporaneous documentation there, or it smacks of pure legal advocacy. But from the perspective of the witness and getting them prepared, the critical issue there is you have to explain to them, look, I'm going to prepare you as best I can. And that means they're not going to be nice to you at the hearing necessarily, and I'm not going to ask softball questions that you can knock down very easily. I'm going to ask difficult questions, and I'm going to ask them in a way that you may not like. You have to also prepare the SES or whoever the SSA is to be likable. They have to understand they cannot talk down to the GAO. They have to be able to have the GAO relate to them and see it from their perspective. If they do engage in a very condescending statement, the GAO may want to respond with, you think you have power, I have power as well. Mm-hmm. And they are in the driver's seat on the entire hearing and the ultimate decision. And whoever it is, normally the SSA has to understand they are in the driver's seat. So that, adjustment has to take place. You have to figure out a way to keep control of your witness. And that means you may have to change your relationship that you've had for maybe even years in working with them. You have to explain that.
And just tacking on to that, one of the things that we like to do when we've had these cases is we prepare a book, usually a loose leaf volume, for our witness with all of the relevant documents there. And we tell them, you need to read this, you need to be familiar with it, you need to know what's in here, you need to be able to find it right away, because you go and take it to the hearing. Because if you're in the hearing and we're talking about a document, rather than them fumbling around on the other side or the GAO attorney searching through to try and find it, and yeah, it's all electronic now, but it's still, you got to do it. You can say, here it is. And that will impress the GAO attorney, and it also helps them. Again, remember, we're trying to make it easy for them.
I guess I would analogize to going and doing a board case, where you're putting documents into evidence. You have a binder and you're ready to go. And you may even help them if it comes to that point. If they reference something, I'd like to hand you what this exhibit, which is labeled as, does this play any role in it, and have them prepped and ready to go.
Those are some great pointers, and I think will really help everybody be prepared for their brief writing and their witness testimony during a GAO hearing. I'd like to come back again and talk a little bit about the importance of corrective action, what it is and what options we have if we are considering corrective action. Would you guys mind coming back again and talking to us a little bit more?
Of course.
This is the part where you say, yes, of course, I'd love to. We'll see you back here again next time, Between Two FARS.